Welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I am your host, D Palm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. You can follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. You can follow the entire MTR Network at, you guessed it, the MTR Network on Twitter. One-stop shop for everything you can need in the world. Politics, gaming, movies, TV reviews, and of course, we've cornered the market in sports now. That's right. You're listening to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. You found us. Make sure you don't lose us. Go ahead and subscribe in the iTunes store. And now that you subscribe, take 2 more seconds, leave a 5-star review. What that 5-star review does is, 1, it lets me know that someone's listening, not just my parents and my fiance. I love you all. It also lets the advertisers we work with and iTunes know that, hey, people are listening. And it's a great way to get the word out about the show. Another great way to get the word about the show is those 5-star reviews, like I mentioned. Take the time, leave a 5-star. If you want to leave a message, I'll read it on the air. I'll happily do that. I love doing that. It's the best thing I do. Not really, but still. It's up there. It's fun. It lets me know you're listening. Lets me know feedback. It lets you guys occasionally pick on me, and I will read them if it's 5 stars and it's semi-nice. You got something you want to say to the podcast that goes beyond a 5-star review? Well, make sure you've left that 5-star. Make sure you subscribe to iTunes, and then you can shoot us an email at udpodcast@gmail.com. Peter shot us an email over the weekend that we're going to read right now. I wish you a good morning on this fine Sunday, D. Palm. Look, man, scheduling being what it is, we'll deal with that later. I hope all is well. Last week's episode with you and Susan was really sweet and well done. Thank you very much. Y'all got excellent mic chemistry, and I can't wait until she joins the MTR Network alongside you and your dad. I hope Chris don't listen to shit. Praise prosperity, preachable Jesus, that Hugh Freeze decided to follow the preaching from the book of Christopher Bridges, chapter 404, verse 678. And I shall have hoes, I proclaim it. I have hoes in different area codes. What Bible verse do y'all think Hugh Freeze is going to tweet out after this? How fast you used to Nutt run? And Freeze tweets out Ezekiel 25:17. That's pretty good. If there was ever a coach that I think would believe on prosperity preaching, it'd be Hugh Freeze. Career trajectory was instantly elevated from high school football coach to Ole Miss assistant to D1 AA coach to Ole Miss head coach, carried along the broad shoulders of Michael Memphis Jesus Ower. That one pair of footprints in the sand, that was Ower carrying Freeze to the prosperity. Sure, this might have been a beach owned by the Toy family, damn, but the law works in mysterious ways. There's some deep cuts in this. I like this. It's a damn good email. In terms of sheer SEC level shenanigans, how does this match up with some of your favorite moments in SEC history? Oh, we won't get to that. After Freeze tweeted out the Ole Miss compliance email address, how many emails do you think they got open with some quality churchy slander like, well, I hate to impose, but since you insisted? Are you shocked this drop dime came from Butts' lawyer and not someone out of Starkville? Is Ole Miss a job worth taking, and who would be the funniest person to take it? The answer, look, and the thing is, you asked that question, I looked ahead, you answered the question in the answer. I'm going to deal with it today, too. You know how much I want to hear Ole Miss Money class argue over the merits of Skip Holtz and Lane Kiffin. Also, Comic Sans Dan can fuck a cactus or fuck up the Cavs. I hope y'all have a lovely Sunday. Apologize for the length. Never apologize for the length. The length is a great way to build content. And by God, in the summer, there's one thing we need. It is sports-related content. And that is what the world has given us. Yes, we do record on Sundays. We had some technical difficulties this Sunday, so I'm recording a solo show right now. So if you're waiting to hear from my father, who all of you people seem to love, or my fiance, who even more of you people seem to love, y'all stuck with little old me. If you turn on the podcast, I'm gonna fight you. Like, I'm gonna find you and fight you. Like, I'm not trying to get complex, but like, y'all are supposed to be here for me, not just the other people I bring on occasionally. That's how you could first help the show. Be here for your boy. Another way to help the show is to go to the MTR Network homepage. Go through our Amazon affiliate link. We all shop through Amazon. I didn't discover. Our household has discovered. That just means Susan discovered. Damn, I told it myself. That you can get groceries delivered. And not through Amazon. We get some of our stuff through Amazon, but we get local grocery delivery service. If it's something you know you're going to need, like, you can plan for, I get it through Amazon. And when I get things through Amazon, I go through our affiliate link. So, of course, Bezos gets his money. I want to make sure I wet my beak, too. Let the MTR Network wet our beak. Use our affiliate link. You can also make sure you go premium. $8 a month. Over 100 extra episodes of the mind-bending wit and hot takes you're accustomed to on the main feed. Just a little bit more. Lastly, MTR Store's up. Shirts, mugs. The D Palmer's Right shirt, it will be in stock for the fall. I've been assured of this. All y'all hating ass can go to hell. Yeah, I think that's all the. It's about all the housekeeping we're going to do today. We're going to get right into it because, man, look, I looked up the other day and I said, let me see how much longer this here baseball season is. Because for those of you who don't know, this is my third or fourth year with my own podcast, a podcast that I ran, a podcast that I was in charge of. And every summer, I just got nuts. I just did whatever the hell I wanted in the summer. And I occasionally say, man, this has been a crazy summer. How much baseball left? 3 months. And when I looked up this week, and there were 3 blankety blank months of football left, or baseball, excuse me. Look, man, I don't know how y'all baseball fans do it. And I think I understand kind of why baseball isn't a great national sport, because there's so many games. I can't follow that. I can barely follow Eastern Conference NBA basketball. I don't follow Western Conference NBA basketball because I am an old person. I have to go to sleep at night. I can barely follow the 15 teams in the East. For real or true. I'm telling you how it is. Give me 16 teams in the East, excuse me. It's hard. But if you want me to follow 162 games of a baseball season of more than just my team, I think you're asking a lot in 2017, and I think baseball may have to figure out a way to make themselves relevant because the rest of these sports are coming for the summer. I thought on Sunday when we planned to record that, hey, the biggest problem I would have last week would say, how do I make this stretch? How do I pour some water in the tussin, shake it up, get some more tussin? Because, man, the summer content sports Sahara is real. It chokes you out, and you wonder how the hell am I going to show up. Then last week, as mentioned in the email we got, the skies parted. And we were gifted a bounty of Hugh Freeze news. Some of you are listening right now and say, who the hell is Hugh Freeze, and why have I heard so much about him in recent days? It's a fair question. Now, for those of you who think I'm going to take some nuanced approach, some gotta hear both sides type of bullshit, you must be new. Because in my previous show, my previous life, I ran a podcast for a site called Dude You Crazy, called Dude You Podcast. And during that run, Bobby Petrino had an incident where he fell off a motorcycle and broke his neck and rode to a hospital. That all sounds horrible, right? But for those of you who don't know, it actually gets way more entertaining. Because Bobby P was eyeballed by someone. It was revealed he was not in that ditch alone. He did not wreck that motorcycle by himself. No. He was the young lady who worked in the athletic department in Arkansas at the time. What happened next? Of course, he lied. He lied. That's what Petrino does. He lies. That's how he communicates. You and I speak English. He speaks fabrications. And he came out with a neck brace and a Sugar Bowl hat. Like, I dare you to fire me. Well, when it came to light that he was sleeping with the woman who was also married to an assistant swimming coach, yeah, they took it upon themselves to fire him. For those of you wondering, Bobby Petrino is now current head coach of Louisville. Don't send your children to play football for Louisville. But yes, you ask yourself now, what does that Bobby Petrino story have to do with Hugh Freeze? Ooh-wee. Come on over, gentle listener. I'll tell you exactly how it matters. So, a few years ago, Hugh Freeze became the new head coach at Ole Miss. He joined Ole Miss, I want to say, 2012. Prior to him being there, the coach was named Houston Nutt. He was kind of run out on rails, and during Hugh Freeze's tenure, the recruiting for Ole Miss jumped up. He found a way to get top flight players from all over the Southeast. And for those of you unfamiliar with SEC football or Ole Miss, that don't happen here. And we'd speak Big Ten for you. What if Purdue started pulling 5 stars? You'd ask questions. That's mean. That's mean, Ole Miss. That's probably accurate. I think Purdue's a good comp. I feel like it's a good comp. If you got a better comp, hit me on Twitter at dpalm66. I feel like Purdue's a good Big Ten comp, but I will admit my Midwest is rusty. So bear with me on that. We'll be back next week to touch up on that. Anyway, Houston Nutt leaves. Hugh Freeze joins Ole Miss. His marketing, and I say marketing, people, and we'll talk about this on the show, we'll talk about this later on, people want to believe that these coaches are the images they sell you. I had people getting mad at me on the internet last week because I had the temerity to suggest that maybe, just maybe, you don't know these people who you're heaping this adulation upon, and maybe, just maybe, you should slow your fucking roll before deeming someone a hero. Well, we'll deal with that in a second. Back to Hugh Freeze. So Hugh Freeze's big thing at Ole Miss in Oxford was two things. One, I'm going to get the best talent I can. And because of the SEC West expansion into Texas, that talent pool was actually deeper. They were going ahead and pulling some of the best kids out of Texas, as well as staying in state with Mississippi and hitting up LSU on the way, or Louisiana on the way. They dipped into Alabama, but you don't really go to Alabama, man. Alabama come to you. You don't pull Nick Saban's cape. You just don't do it. It's his territory. Leave the man his blocks. But they were everywhere else. Ole Miss was everywhere else. They were pulling kids left and right. Kids that you thought were going to go to your Georgias, your Floridas, hell, your Clemsons. These are big school, big time, dynastic kids who were ending up at Ole Miss. The second part of Hugh Freeze's big selling point at Ole Miss was he was, how does you say, performatively religious. And what I mean by that is, I don't know the man. I don't know the man's heart. I've never met the man or broken bread with him. I've never seen him kick a dog. I've never seen him not kick a dog. I don't know him. But the image he gave us was one of heightened religiosity and above reproach. You couldn't even begin to ask, hey man, should Ole Miss really be getting these kids? Without 10 or 12 Ole Miss bar hats coming, well, I'll tell you what, this is people keeping down. It's the worst. And mind you, he's convincing these kids to come to a school where, as most recently as 2011, I believe, they allowed the waving of Confederate flags during their games, and it was considered an integral part of their institutional identity. Yeah, he's not bringing kids to South Beach. What up, Coach Rick? He is bringing them to Oxford, bleeping Mississippi around Confederate flags, and he's doing something else while he's there. That's the tricky thing about the whole Hugh Freeze situation, is the third part of what he brought to the table. Go ahead and list teams that have beaten Bama back-to-back years in the last 10. I'll wait. If your answers were, oh shit, it's just Ole Miss, and oh shit, he did it with with Chad Crazy Kelly, yeah, that's right. And that's why when the NCAA came knocking and said, hey, there have been some irregularities here at Ole Miss, because NCAA is mainly gutless and spineless, but when they think they've got smoke, they'll come in and act like a big dog. So they said, hey, Ole Miss, we've noticed some infractions. We'd like to investigate these infractions. Let's talk. And Ole Miss said, no. There are 15 infractions there, right? All of them was on Houston Nutt. And they said it not just to the NCAA. They said it publicly in reports, and in defense of their coach, and in defense of their reputation. They threw Houston Nutt under the bus. Houston Nutt will never coach major college football head coach again, ever. He'll get no C job because he's a white guy with great ties. But he will never coach big-time college football again. Houston Nutt said, that wasn't me. They said, no. They had the bulletproof. They are the school of note of record in Mississippi, which is crazy. But yeah, everyone was ready to toe that line that said, hey, you're right. This happened on Houston Nutt's watch. Hugh Freeze could never be blamed. I'm going to stop here and explain how Hugh Freeze got to where he is. Hugh Freeze, anyone see The Blind Side? It's filmed on my high school campus. That counts. Michael Oher his story is famous. I'm not going to tell it. Anyway, he ends up it's a white savior story. It makes you kind of actually a little sick. But he ends up playing for this coach in high school and getting his way into a scholarship and plays with the NFL. Well, that coach, as you see on many levels in many sports, and not just AAU basketball because they like to demonize black people, Hugh Freeze is able to parlay his way into saying, hey, baby, let me get an assistant coaching gig. Once you're in the loop, it's all about who you know. And Hugh Freeze, by all accounts, is that kind of personable person that you want to see succeed. He parlayed that to an assistant coaching gig. He took that all the way to being a head coach in D1 AA. Houston Nutt got canned. Who was waiting? Hat in hand, Hugh Freeze. Well, the NCAA didn't just take the Ole Miss reporting at face value, the self-reporting, if you will. They said, we're going to do some investigation on our own. And you know what? Of those 15 allegations, between 9 and 13, it's debatable, fell under the Hugh Freeze regime. You're saying to yourself, but this man is so religious, a pious man of God. How could he go against these NCAA restrictions? And while my stance on the NCAA is very strong, I do think it's interesting that you would publicly lie and defame someone who came before you. This is a great time for someone who claims a certain background to bear witness to truth, own his shortcomings, and absolve his predecessor of all wrongdoing. Houston Nutt literally said to the school and to Freeze, I just want an apology. Just get in public and say you lied on me. Say that this degradation of my character was unjustified, unfounded, and most importantly untrue. Ole Miss Hugh Freeze didn't really see it that way. They refused to apologize. So after a long time, Houston Nutt filed a lawsuit against Ole Miss. And kids who say, oh, it's a lawsuit, it's no big deal. They'll settle. This is why you settle before the lawsuit gets brought. On July 13th, Houston Nutt sued Ole Miss for defamation, contending that Hugh Freeze and school officials falsely blamed him for violations. Once the suit is filed, we get into what we call the discovery phase, where both parties are given access to documents so they can build their case. Reviewing these records, Houston Nutt's attorneys discovered a call to a number associated with a female escort service and alerted Ole Miss officials. School officials investigated, discovered what they, and I'm quoting here, called a concerning pattern, dating back to shortly after he arrived in Oxford. And on July 20th, Jeff Vitter, hold on to that name, we'll be back, and athletic director Ross Bjork told Freeze to resign or be fired for cause. Freeze resigned. They had a very funny press conference where they continued his lie of saying, oh, it was a misdial. Oh, it was a misdial. Hey, look, man, I'm not a rich man. But if I've got a job that pays me, I don't know, $4.5 million a year. Actually, let me look at the. Yep, he was, and this is also fun. Freedom of Information Act applies because he's a state employee. Usually the highest paid state employee, hello, college football coaches in the South, but a state employee nonetheless. He was due a raise to make $5 million this year. The question becomes, when you come home after that meeting, you say, do you say to your wife, baby, I cheated, or baby, I got fired? Because you've got to say them both, but which do you lead with? And that's the place that Hugh Freeze found himself in. And then he decided to tell us lies. There's a misdial. Hey, man, look, people should come up short all the time. It's kind of the situation we found ourselves in with this information age. You love Bill Cosby? Wait for it. Oh, R. Kelly songs. Click this here link. Hugh Freeze is a man of God that would never do anything against NCAA restrictions. I don't care how messed up they are. Slow down. It's crazy. It's 2017. We've watched icons and heroes and institutions fall by the wayside almost on the daily. And yet, when an Iowa-based beat writer, and ended up being a very nice guy, he and I talked for a little bit on last Friday on Twitter, claims that Kirk Ferentz would never. I had to call bullshit. And that's how I ended up fighting with Iowa football fanhood on Friday last week. Because everyone was telling me there's no way this could happen. And all I could say was, you sound like Malcolm Jamal Warner in 1997. You don't know Ferentz like how we know Ferentz. He could never do a Hugh Freeze. You sound like an Ole Miss fan last week. They were mad at me, dude. And what's even crazier, I did some research. They were mad at me for 8 wins a year, like 7.5, actually. Iowa, love yourselves more. You deserve better than 7.5 wins. They fired Rick for winning 10 a year. Coach Rick won more games in Georgia in 3 fewer years than Ferentz has won to this day at Iowa. And yet I had to fight Kirk Ferentz truthers. That's my life. Yo, Paterno. Yo, they're making a Paterno movie with Al Pacino. And if you listen to the Penn State fans, it's going to be 2 hours of him sitting around knowing nothing. It's the crazy shit in the world, man. The crazy shit in the world. Because Houston Nutt didn't come here. And I know, people are going to make, and it's funnier to spin it as like this vindictive, spurned nut. Yeah, it's pretty funny. come back to get his. No. He simply asked for an apology. He said, hey, man, you please take this shit off my name so I get a job. Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze and the Hubers said no. And that's kind of where I want to end the coverage of this one, because I don't give a shit that he called it an escort service. I think it's hilarious that it resulted in him losing his job. But, and I think that the words pattern of behavior, I mean, this story ain't close to over. Sorry, baseball. Football just took July. Don't tell you. But yeah, we don't know these people, man. You got to understand that the people you're seeing on these airwaves, on Twitter, on television, fuck it, me. You see what I show you. You don't know what I'm into my free time. A lot of you do, because I record a lot of podcasts that cover a lot of my free time. But we don't know these people for sure. And it's anytime you say so-and-so would never, and that person isn't actually you, you've fallen for some level of ruse. Well, people who are closer, you feel like a better predictor on how they would act. Sure. But people are unpredictable, man. Here's the test. Talk to some of your friends. This is my male listeners. Talk to your friends about Bill Cosby. Any one of them that says that what he did wasn't rape, your friend's a rapist. And before you had that conversation, you probably said, my friends would never. Don't get comfortable. You don't know these people. Don't let them surprise you. Kirk Ferentz, I'm sure, is a great guy. I'm sure he's a stand-up citizen who would never, and I mean never, call a prostitute for sexual gratification. He wouldn't do that. But what Kirk Ferentz would do is in 2011 have 11 of his players hospitalized due to over-extraneous summer practices. And if you think that's a smaller moral failing than paying for sex, congratulations, you fell for the biggest ruse of all. Because nothing is a measure of a man greater than how he treats those who are lesser than him. It was dope because I was talking about this on Friday, it's all on my Twitter feed, but I have a friend who went to Columbia with me who's a wrestler. And people were saying, oh, Ferentz, those were blown out. We brought up this case, and people were like, that was blown out of proportion. These kids were in hospitals. I was like, yo, they got medical bills. What the fuck are you talking about? Well, these kids are just soft. And I don't know if it was just me or my boy, but we both realized that, like, that's the stuff we heard. I played college football at Columbia. When I tell you no one cares about Columbia football, no one cares about Columbia football. I got made fun of by the baggage dudes at LaGuardia wearing my football hoodie. Summer before senior year, I stayed in New York. I had an internship, I had a night job, and I took 2 classes. And I got up to work out every morning. One of the morning workouts, I pulled my hamstring. Which I'm thinking, what your big ass doing, move fast and pull a hamstring? Ha ha ha, motherfucker. Very funny. But I did. And come training camp, I wasn't 100%. I wasn't ready to go. I did everything I could, couldn't get ready. And I got in trouble for getting injured during summer training. I got cussed out for getting injured before showering and going to work. So, when you tell me your fave could never do X, Y, or Z, talk to a guy who played for him. And they're going to have a lot of good memories. I have a lot of great memories of my college coaches. A lot of shitty ones, too. It's important to get the full measure of these people. And the reason I even brought it up to the beat writers, because I told them eventually, was like, look, man, if you're going to be the one on the ground who is the voice, who's going to report, it can't be through a lens of adulation. It can't be through a desire to want to like these people. It's got to be objective. It's got to be, and sometimes it's got to be tilted against them. Because there's too much at stake. The power dynamic is too real. And guess what? Ames, Iowa, you can't only do that to Kirk Ferentz, because guess what? He'll just kick you out of the press. He'll deny your paper access. Then guess what? You're getting fired. Because the paper has to choose between a coach and a reporter. The reporter going to find a new job. A coach, go find a new reporter. Let's move on. Get out of college football. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. There's only one choice to replace Hugh Freeze and Oxford. Peter knew it in the email. You knew it listening. I know it now. And he did it on Friday when he followed 3 brand new Ole Miss accounts. Lane, Joey Freshwater, Kiffin is coming to Oxford. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but ooh-wee. I can't wait to see Lane Kiffin say hotty toddy and watch all the people who talk all that noise about him all those years have to shut up and watch him ruin their school. Let's move on. NFL news. A lot of NFL stuff happened now. And this is crazy. Like I said, man, it feels like July's forfeit. Like August has always been football. And June's always been the NBA. Because, the finals, they dip late. So baseball always had like July. We're going to capture the home run derby, all-star game. We're going to capture you in July and hold on until October. NFL said not so fast, my friend. And I start with the NFL story. It's not an NFL story because the guy was in the NFL for a very long time. But I got to talk about it because we're a sports show. Did y'all really watch O.J. Simpson's parole hearing? I couldn't do it, man. I was working. I was like, I ain't going to walk away from I'm not going to put it on my phone. I'm not going to put it on my desk. I'm not going to put it on my computer. I don't care enough. At the end, I'll know if he got out or not. And he got out. And for, people who follow the case and say, hey, X, Y, and Z, he shouldn't have been locked up for that long for that crime. You're right. There's another subset of people who say he got away with murder. You're right too. The people who say he was over prosecuted and it's punitive for him beating that murder rap. You're right. But if you're mad that he's out because he beat that murder rap, you're a piece of shit. Because he didn't beat that murder rap for the reasons that the media gives you. The media will say, oh, black people, they just wouldn't convict him. It's not true. DNA evidence, nope, not true. They didn't convict him because the star witness for the prosecution was an admitted racist and admitted to altering crime scenes on the stand. And then when pressed about it, pleaded the fifth. Oh, I'm so mad at OJ. Be mad at Mark Furman. And you can find him because he's now working at Fox and he's a millionaire. OJ case will always define this country. I honestly do think that. It gave birth to cable news, for better or worse. It's worse, spoilers. And it reminded us, it reminded a certain section of people that green rules all. If people learn from that trial, man, rich people get better lawyers. Where are you from? And what's the weather like on that planet? I don't get it. I don't get the rage. I'm largely indifferent. I think he was overcharged and over-sentenced for stealing his own shit. And by all y'all's reactions on Twitter, the whole thing was a shit show anyway, so I'm glad I didn't watch. But it's interesting because it stoked that fire. Because I was 10 and 95. I remember watching the verdict in Miss Sims's elementary school classroom. Miss Sims, Miss Witherspoon, I want to say Miss Holmes. There's 3 black ladies had come to our 2 other black teachers in the school had come to our 5th grade class to watch. And he got off, and these black women cheered. That's my defining OJ moment memory from me being 10 years old. But if you'll notice, the people who cheered back then, there was no cheers when OJ got out. A whole lot of anger. Imagine what it's like to watch the justice system beat the shit out of you your entire life, and not just on one high-profile case that you mad because you feel like you got to do something. Murderers walk every day. I don't see the same people mad at George Zimmerman. The Venn diagram, people pissed off over Castillo and pissed off about OJ leaving. It's a 2 non-concentric circles. They don't even come close. So yeah, when your buddy or your coworker is telling you how mad he is that OJ got off, just ask him why. It's amazingly how fast people will tell on themselves. The word why. Just try it. See what happens. It's going to be different than you think, and it probably disappoints you. So you go, Elliot, in the news, domestic violence issues, and I don't want to breeze past it But for me, the impact has been how the league has responded. How Jerry Jones is on television defiantly saying, there's nothing here. Jerry, you better be right, Jerry. You got to be right. You can't miss if you say, there's no way my guy would do that. There's no way. Maybe Jerry's right. And the NFL's going to come down with 1 or 2 games. But then the spotlight's back on the NFL. Because it says, hey, NFL, you said that these incidences would lead to at least 6 game suspensions. Zeke get 2, what are we talking about? Here's a better question. Zeke gets none. What then? If you think I paired these 2 stories together haphazardly, you're crazy. Because Zeke doesn't happen in a vacuum. Whatever happened. I'm not going to litigate him here. I'm not. Whatever happened. He found a way to do what the NFL sets you up. Not set you up to do. That's too harsh. The NFL allows, perpetuates. Because when you give, when you've got the owner saying he wouldn't do it and give him 2 games, what message does that send to the rest of the league? What message does that send to your viewers? And I know the NFL says we don't actually care, what the viewers actually think. We just want you to keep watching, and that's the truth. That's 100 for you. That said, maybe just maybe this is an opportunity to be more proactive and an opportunity to say we as a league won't do this. That won't happen. Too much money at stake. They like to pretend that maybe, just maybe, there's a reason behind it. That we don't have all the facts. We need to see all the facts shake out before we can condemn this young man, condemn this, star. What if someone condemned OJ, man? Same people mad about OJ really want to see people to get off because they got a fantasy team. Or they're Cowboys fans. Or they'd hate to see the young man's name drawn through the mud over some nobody woman. That's how people talk, man. I follow Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I see how these motherfuckers talk. We need all the facts. Same organization. Today. Lucky Whitehead yesterday was arrested. Word got out that he had skipped a court date for being arrested after being arrested for shoplifting in Virginia. Jason Garrett went on television, said the team was gathering information. 2 hours later, they cut Whitehead. We cover the NFL here, so the immediate reaction has to be the correct one. The fuck are you doing? Like, I get it. And people get fired all the time, people get cut all the time, blah, 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 blah. But anyone whose reaction isn't to shit on the Cowboys for this is drawing a Cowboys paycheck, is a Cowboys fan, or for some reason seems to be in any way ancillarily tied with the NFL. Every talking head I've seen is backing the play of the Cowboys, even after today's revelation. What revelation, you may ask? Glad you just asked. Wasn't him. The man who was arrested gave a fake name, gave his name and his social. So really, your receiver who fought his way on your roster from the street, who is by and large a success story, you could build something around. You can give that kid 15 minutes on local radio and get a little fan base going for him. No. They cut it. Said it was a pattern of behavior. This was the last straw. This was the whatever. Fork of the day wasn't him. The Cowboys say, oh, should we reconsider? Nope. And I'm speaking for the Cowboys through one of their chosen mouthpieces, whose face looks like a rectum, Albert Breer. Cowboys' decision to let Lucky Whitehead go wasn't about one incident alone. He doesn't mention that there was no incident in this incident. Was often flighty with the truth, unaccountable with team staff. Who told you that, Albert? Albert continued, because one tweet's not enough. One such case came last December after he slept through Saturday meetings walkthrough, was left home for Giants game. This is just the final straw. And you've got to say to yourself, wait a second, why do I know this? I have a feeling he's not the one who told you. Raise your hands if you think that Albert Breer may or may not have reached out to the agent or the player himself to get another shot of the story. Please don't raise your hands if you're driving. No one should raise their hands because it's not true. They never would. Because, like so many in the media, they take the spoon feeding, the spoon fed lies as gospel. Today, the healthcare vote went through, and we are treated to the John McCain fellatio tour after he gave some empty fucking speech afterwards. Hey, guess what? If he was really a maverick, if he was really fighting for average Americans, he probably wouldn't have voted to take away the healthcare. Or excuse me, to have the conversation take away the healthcare. Yeah. They'll tell you a lot of things about working in media and working in sports, and one of the proudest things I can say about MTR is that I know everyone we work with, there's not one bootlicker here. There's not one stooge. They could send us Flash trailers. I'd shit on the Flash if it got bad. Because we're here for the love of it, man. We're not here for access or bullshit like that. Like Albert Breer, on one hand, yeah, the game is a game. You need your access. That's your job. On the other hand, you know what the Cowboys go is saying, oh, the reason we said we cut him yesterday, that wasn't the real reason. It was a bunch of other reasons we couldn't tell you about yesterday. You don't have to report it either. Maybe you're not built that way to say, oh, this is horse shit. I'll fight it in the media. No, maybe you're not built that way. Maybe you're just built the way to say, oh, that's your quote? Can't run it. What? I can't. Thanks, but no thanks. The team screwed up. Publicly. Loudly. Carrying water for them does nothing. Because your paymasters, who you're just boots you're licking, they don't give a shit. They expected you to lick the boots. They expected you to toe the line. You won nothing. And you may have sacrificed this young kid's career. Came off the street, like I said. Fought his way on a roster. Hope he gets catches on somewhere, man. He's a very good football player, and hopefully this can be some sort of wake-up call. It won't be. For NFL media to have a little fucking backbone. But it is what it is. New York Times article came out today about CTE, and before another 15 people sent it to me, yes, I've read it. It was actually going to be a topic I was going to talk about with Susan on the podcast, just because I think it's interesting to have outside perspective. I'm going to try to get someone on before the season starts so we can really deep dive into this. But I'll say this. They researched 111 brains of ex-NFL players, and 110 had positive signs of CTE. One of the first episodes here was called Safer Cigarette, and the fact that there's no such thing. I don't know what's going to happen with football. I'm not one of those people who's going to pontificate on what could or should or would happen. But I'll say this. Something's got to change, because, and I love football. It's given me most of my life. 110 out of 111 is not even it's call it 100% statistical anomaly, like 100% of anything. Think of things in your life where you can say, oh, that's 100% certainty going to cause this. What they told you is that 100% of the time you play NFL football, you get CTE. That don't slow you down, man. Maybe your kid just loves football that much. I don't know, man. I don't know. And again, like I said, I'm not taking any high horse here. If your kid plays football, I'm not judging you. I just think that it's in an enlightened and informed age, it's harder and harder for me to reconcile, one, the idea of a progeny of mine playing football, or two, the fact that I played it all. Like, we'll watch sometimes, it's just like, I'm so glad you don't play. I didn't know you when you played football. And she means that for the hits. I mean it kind of for like the culture, and kind of I was an asshole back then. But it is what it is. And yeah. But let's get back to some fun news, because for the stretch of time when the NFL wasn't taking over July and telling baseball to get the fuck off their lawn, yo, the NBA did it. Lonzo Ball, who you may know his father, you may have heard his name before, LeVar, came out here and did like a sneaker tour / took over Summer League. So the big baller brand shoes not really popping. He ended up changing shoes after every game, and now I'm watching like slideshows of his numbers in Summer League in different shoes. Magic Johnson said he's inspired the summer league team and the organization to be a pass-first team. You talk to guys at UCLA who played with him, and you say, hey, man, I didn't know those coaches that good. He's like, no, our coach is terrible. Lonzo is the truth. And I'm not going to lie, I got sucked in a little summer league this year. I watched the little baby Lakers do a little work, and I'm very interested to see what happens with this Lonzo Ball thing. I think the shoe thing may be a miss just because it's hard to compete with the big boys, but he's going to get a deal out of it. And, yeah, it's crazy to think that LeVar Ball might have been right. Like, this is the most dangerous shit in the world. Like, if Lonzo gets good, like, yeah, it's going to be cool for all of us because we can cheer him on. It's going to be weird as shit for us, too. Because now, you've told LeVar anything he speaks into the world will become true. Dangerous, dangerous thing for a dude like that. And we all know dudes like that. Lastly, but not leastly, Kyrie Irving wants out of Cleveland. The report came out Friday that Kyrie was not requesting. You can't say demand because he doesn't have that kind of pull anywhere. And I heard a lot of the pundits over the weekend and that night say how stupid Kyrie was, how sticking with LeBron's the best thing that ever happened to him. They weren't nothing without LeBron and da-da-da. You've got to remember, Kyrie's never been the second best player on a team in his entire life. Duke, when he was healthy, he ran things. Cleveland, and it was the moribund Cleveland. It was the Mike Browniest of Clevelands. Kyrie's still an all-star, baby. They couldn't make the playoffs, but Kyrie could carry that trash pile to some respectability. Wherever he ends up next, I'm not saying, we'll talk about that in a second. Anyone who gets Kyrie Irving is getting, one, a guy who wants to be a number one, and two, a guy with a ring, and three, a guy who isn't going to be unfamiliar with that position. There's a lot to be said. Jimmy Butler was made the face of Chicago last year. Didn't pan out. He's in Minnesota now. I don't know. But we know Kyrie can do it. We know Kyrie wants it. We know Kyrie's tight with John Wall and Dame Lillard. And I think that probably it bugged him to not have his own squad, to be the other guy on LeBron's team. And you've got to remember, again, he didn't sign up to play with LeBron. He signed up to be the guy in Cleveland, to be the next LeBron. But LeBron says going home, dead at all that. Kyrie got his ring. Kyrie wants to eat. I get it. I understand it, man. And people say, oh, he's getting up. They can still make a run. They could. You're right. But with all the uncertainty surrounding LeBron for the next season, you got to get out while stock is high, baby. You don't want to be the last one left with the check. I'm really excited. It looks like it's going to be Dan Gilbert. But you don't want to be the guy who was left on the team if everybody left. You don't want to be the last man standing. Get the lights on your way out? No. Get while the getting's good. Go get your money. Where Kyrie says he wants to go is where kind of my problem comes in. If he wants to go to San Antonio, congratulations to being the second guy again in a better city, I guess. Cleveland's Miami. That's not happening because he and Deion Waiters do not like each other. New York. I mean, do it if you want to. You're from Jersey. I mean, I guess there's a certain level of nostalgic appeal to come semi-home and try to do it for the home team, but you can if you want to. I wouldn't. In Minnesota, who have no trade pieces because Zach LaVine's gone. They got their core three, and they're going to bring in Kyrie for who? The best part about this story is that Kyrie's got a list. He ain't got no trade clause. The Cavaliers and whoever's running that front office will hopefully get the best haul possible. And people are saying, oh, you can't bring him into the camp. Why not? You know he wants out. Taking himself isn't going to get him out any faster. Let him come play. If you can't find the good deal now, don't feel pressured. Unnamed Cavs GM. Don't let Kyrie's artificial pressure make you do something stupid. And don't let Dan Gilbert he's your boss. He owns the team. Do what Dan says, but fight it for a second. Put up at least the crazy. I don't think we should, Dan. Give him something. Yeah, it's wild. People saying, "Oh, Kyrie, he's stupid. He's short-sighted." I had 170 episodes of a podcast at Dude You Crazy. I think my last episode was 170. I'm pretty sure. And time had come where I needed to make a decision about me and my life. And I was like, I need to just, I got to make it my own. I've been over here bogarting someone else's show for 3 years. It's about time I build my own. And that's how UD Pod came from. It was nerve-wracking. It was scary. But I can't be the guy who took that shot and tell you that Kyrie's wrong. I can't. I won't. I've always been big on betting on yourself. You've heard me not take the normal stance on LeVar Ball. He's betting on himself, man. He thinks he can do it out there in the world, and maybe he can, maybe he can't. But I think it's interesting to watch, and LeBron mad as hell. Because it looks like he's going to get stuck with Derrick Rose, with the decaying ligaments of Derrick Rose to be his point guard next year. Where is Kevin Love in all this? Is Kevin Love even aware his team has no GM and might just maybe being run by Derrick Rose and LeBron's desire to leave? If Derrick Rose starts opening night for the Cavs, just start printing LeBron Lakers jerseys tomorrow. It's ridiculous. It's so bad. And even like a story came out today. It looks like Chauncey Billups turned down this job, his first GM job at Cleveland, not because of the Kyrie news and not because LeBron's leaving. He said both of those things were knowledge. He knew them, but they were not factors. The main factor was that the coverage are bare in Cleveland. That the mismanagement of Mr. Gilbert, Senior Comic Sans, has left them in a place where they're not even going to be. If LeBron leaves, it's a wrap. And it looks like Dan Gilbert and Kevin Love are going to split that check. Because Chauncey Billups took one good hard look, chucked the deuce, and said no to his first GM job. How wild is that? To say no to a job you've never had, a job you've aspired to. Because, I don't want that bad. I don't need it that bad. Yeah, man. That's how bad it is in Cleveland. And don't look a whole lot better because football's around the corner. Speaking of, we've got some great things coming up this fall on the podcast. I would advise all of you to do me a huge favor. Go to Facebook. You like the MTR Network, make sure if you love the MTR Network, make sure you like us on Facebook. And make sure you also join the MTR Network Facebook group. I do a lot of stuff there. I sometimes take questions for the podcast. I'll open up some things there. And also, I think we're going to have some contests and whatnot this fall. And that's going to be the place to find them first. I'm going to test kitchen everything in the group before it makes wide release. Or maybe just maybe for the first season, everything stays in the group. So you want to be a part of it, make sure you're in the Facebook group, MTR Network. That is going to be about it for the show this week. We're lining up guests, and we're planning our very first MTR Network UD Pod podcast week. What that means is, for 1 week in August, you're going to have a podcast from me every day. And it's going to be with a new guest every day, a new topic every day. And it's going to culminate with the Friday show, a mega show we'll have on 2 very special guests discussing WWE's SummerSlam extravaganza. Before that, we'll be breaking down NFC preview, AFC preview, SEC preview, and a college football preview in Moss. And that is going to be exciting. The dates are coming up. I'll let you guys know exactly when it's coming. If you subscribe in the iTunes store, you're guaranteed to get the first batch of Podcast Week directly delivered to your ear hole or whatever device you have chosen. Make sure you go to our Amazon affiliate link on mtrnetwork.net. Buy what you need from through there. Give Bezos money. Let the MTR Network wet their beak a little bit too. Join our premium service. Shop in the store. Get yourself a wonderful shirt or a tasty mug. Or tasty, goodness gracious, I'm losing it today. Or a tasteful mug is what I meant to say. And it's the best way to support the podcast. 5-star reviews. Subscribe on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, UDPod. If you're talking about the show, use the hashtag UDPod. That was your show. This is your outro. See y'all next week.